Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. So today I'm going to talk about a new report from Palo Alto. It's called the State of Cloud Native Security. It came out few weeks back. I had the chance to get it from their public website, so I thought I'll share what I learned from this report. What this report contains is it looks into evolving security practices, tools, technologies that organizations around the world are employing to take advantage of cloud services and new application tech stacks. Okay, so as you would have guessed by now, it talks about security around cloud native applications. Okay, now how they generate the report is they do assessments with partners, and in this particular report they assess 2500 plus respondents in 7 countries, including the US, Australia, Germany, France, Japan, Singapore, and the UK. And they've tried to cover all the major industries like consumer products and services, energy resources, industrials, financial services, healthcare, tech, media, and telecom. Now, the key things that they have highlighted in the report are: one, cloud migration is going. Then, what is the impact on security teams because of this cloud migration? Third, the top challenges in providing comprehensive security for cloud native applications, how enterprises are approaching cloud security, the path forward, and the report also gives recommendations. So, let's discuss each of these points one by one. Starting with cloud migration, the report states that the reason organizations are expanding to the cloud is one, to build new and expand existing products and services, increase efficiency and agility, create new processes and workflows, mitigating business and regulatory risk, expanding into new markets. Okay, so it's about businesses trying to launch new products or accelerating the release and updates of existing products. Okay, making it easy for their partners to share data, to look to do it data analytics of their customers, and this helps them migrate into new markets. Okay, so for example, if a business is now digital first, it's very easy for them to launch into new regions, new uh, domains, new countries, etc. Okay, the second thing that the report talks about is the most common way to migrate to cloud is lift and shift, which is you take an existing application, you virtualize it and put it on public facing cloud. This could be private cloud or a service from cloud service provider like Microsoft, AWS, Google, etc. The second most common method is cloud native, which is using the modern containerized applications and microservices to build a cloud native application. And third is refactoring or rebuilding the app completely, which is around 27%. Now, the report also found that 53% workloads in the cloud are hosted on public cloud, which is an increase of 8% from past year. PaaS, which is platform as a service and serverless, were the most dominant application execution environment. So it states that 36% of the workloads run on PaaS and serverless, 22% run on VMs, 18% run on CAS, and 18% on containers. This is as of 2023 when this report collected the data. Now, the report also expected that in next 24 months, respondents expect an 11% increase in workload move to cloud. So, in last 12 months, 40% workload were migrated, 53% are currently getting migrated, and in next 24 months, around 64% of the workloads will be migrated to cloud. Also, app velocity in cloud native apps is very fast. What that means is the frequency of deployment of code is very fast. So they've given some numbers like 17% of the respondents state or 70% more code is getting deployed on demand. 38% of respondents did that on a daily basis, and 77% of respondents are doing a weekly basis. Okay, now the top challenges that the report states to move to cloud is: one, technical complexity; second, lack of talent or consulting services; maintaining comprehensive security. So the report states that there are approximately 6 to 10 tools dedicated to cloud security on an average in enterprise, whereas overall there are at least 30 plus tools that an enterprise uses for cybersecurity. This leads to complexity, obviously. Okay. Also, the fourth challenge is lack of visibility across services and providers, and fifth is meeting compliance requirements. Also, the report gave a stat which is 77% of organizations struggle to identify which security tools are necessary to achieve their objective. Of course, because the cybersecurity industry is fragmented, too many vendors, and unless you have very crisp uh, clarity on what you're looking for, it is hard for you to find out. And even if you do that, whatever options you have present, the evaluation cycle takes long. Let's say you're doing a pilot for a new product and a service for 3 to 4 months, and there are 5 vendors. It takes 15-20 months just to understand what capabilities are provided, and in that period the entire application infrastructure might have evolved. Okay, so it's hard to keep up. The second thing which the report talks about is the implications for security teams in the cloud native application environment. So 90% of the respondents said that their organizations cannot detect, contain, or resolve threats within an hour. Okay. Also, more than 30% of the respondents indicated the lack of visibility into vulnerabilities across cloud resources, which is containers, virtual machines, application, open source software, the source code of the application itself. Okay. Now, the top 5 security incidents were reported as: one, risk introduced early in application development; second, workload emojis with vulnerabilities or malware; third, vulnerability web application and APIs; fourth, unrestricted network access between workloads; and fifth is downtime due to misconfiguration. The report also states 5 key security metrics, which is mean time to detect, mean time to remediate, number of breaches, number of intrusion attempts, and unplanned downtime. So I like these metrics. Some of them have been there for a long time, but what I saw for the first time getting mentioned, at least in my personal experience, is the unplanned downtime getting tracked by cybersecurity. This could be an IT or CIO metric, but unplanned downtime because of a cybersecurity incident definitely makes sense. Okay. Also, the report talks about who would be responsible for security, whether it's developer or security teams. So there's a discussion around that, which is the report states that 75% of respondents said that developers are held accountable for writing insecure code, and more than 80% said that they understand responsibility to deliver security across the development cycle. So, which is good. Security is not their primary responsibility, and security teams should provide development teams with the tools they need according to the survey response trends, which is great expectation, right? In reality, in cybersecurity teams don't understand how applications are getting built and deployed. Okay, and developers don't understand cybersecurity at the runtime. At least, maybe build time, the awareness is definitely there. Things have evolved a lot. But yes, it has to be shared responsibility. Okay, eventually what happens is security teams are caught between responding to application teams and securing an increasingly complex cloud environment, which includes multiple layers in the cloud stack. So this is infrastructure, network, VMs, containers, serverless functions, data, APIs, web apps, the application code, open source libraries, etc., as I've said before. Okay, so who owns this? Again, no simple answer, but shared responsibility model, just like you have in the cloud service provider world. Okay. Now, the third key thing in the report is top challenges of providing comprehensive security. So the report mentions 5 challenges. Number 1, managing holistic security across teams. So development, operations, security teams, and every stakeholder along this application lifecycle have to share responsibility for security using effective collaboration. Yes, this makes sense. Second, embedding security across the cloud native development app cycles. So security tools should be used in every stage of application lifecycle. So what I've realized, whenever I talk to developers from cybersecurity perspective, they would typically use one commercial tool for vulnerability management, and they would use multiple open source software to just check security. Okay. Uh, uh, in my experience, I've also found out that they don't want to reach out to security teams because it delays their release cycle. Uh, that's the practical thing I've heard from everyone that I've spoken with. Okay. Uh, Third, training IT development security staff to use security tools. So, utilizing multiple point tools to address each environment like VMs, containers, serverless, app code, identities presented the challenge of ensuring staff are proficient with each tool. Okay, that's a big challenge, of course. Okay. Uh, Fourth, lack of visibility into security vulnerabilities across cloud resources. Again, because of the nature of the cloud stack, it's very hard that a single product can give visibility of, continuous uh, detection of assets, misconfiguration, vulnerabilities across full application lifecycle. Okay, it's getting solved as I'm following the cloud market and application security market. The I've seen the products are trying to get that gap addressed. Hopefully, this will be solved with CNAP platforms. Okay. Fifth, finding the correct tools to address security needs. Not all organizations are at the same stage in cloud adoption journey, nor do all embrace the same methodologies in approach to cloud adoption. While some organizations develop applications exclusively in the cloud, others use a lifted shift approach. So, because the approach or the way applications are getting migrated to cloud, it is very hard for enterprise teams, security teams, development teams to find the right tools that can address their security needs. Okay, so these were the top challenges. Now, let's talk about how enterprises are approaching cloud security as per this report. So, the report states that the enterprises are split between a single vendor slash multi-vendor approach for each of their security needs. Now, when it comes to securing their cloud, a quarter of respondents also use in-house and open source tools. Yes, as I said this before, this approach was not as common for network security, app security. Now, in this report, what the surveys did, they compared cloud security, network security, and application security use cases, or how they are solved by source. So the sources were cloud service providers, one vendor, one tool, multiple vendors with various tools, in-house, open source, and yeah. So 26% of the open source software or in-house category was used in cloud security, which means for securing the cloud enterprises rely on open source software. Okay, they don't do that in network security, they don't do that in application security as much. In network security is the least common one. This is where most of the enterprise based commercial software is used, but in cloud security people compromise and they use cloud based or open source tools. Okay, so this was a bit surprising for me, although I knew that developers use that, but at multiple layers. Cloud security is not just security of vulnerable of application code, but also vulnerabilities and looking at other stuff. So this was a bit surprising for me, that they don't treat network security and cloud security at the same level. Okay. The other thing that the report states that even after deploying multiple tools, enterprises have experienced significant security incidents with gaps in response efficacy and efficiency. Only 10% of the respondents can detect, contain, and resolve threats in less than an hour. An increased number of breaches was reported by 39% of respondents, and more than 30% reported a significant increase in intrusion attempts and downtime. Okay, so now because they're using open source software, it doesn't help much, right? They're seeing more breaches, more intrusion attempts. Now, the problem with open source mostly is that if you use an open source security software, you get stuck, you don't know who to reach out to, except your internal teams who might have learned about the platform using an online video or an online tutorial. Now, the path forward. Okay, so the report recommends 5 priorities for cloud security. One is data protection, appsec, runtime security, vulnerability management, identity and access management, and governance. So this is a pretty good list. Uh, if you want to recategorize this, I can put this into multiple buckets, which is securing while you're building the code, securing while you're pushing the code, and securing while you're running the code in the cloud. Okay, and then security could be all about starting at how the code is getting developed, how the images are getting created, are they secure or not, what kind of software is getting used. If it is open source, look at the supply chain, look at the vulnerability of these packages that are called by developers, uh, build guardrails around it. Let's say now the code gets pushed. I know I've skipped some of the steps, but let's say the code gets pushed. You have to continuously monitor how the code is running, how application is behaving, block the attacks in real time, look at API based access, look at specific web application signatures, and also behavior based protections. So I know these things cannot be provided by one single tools, but try to consolidate as much as you can. Okay, now the tool also recommends finally in the last section of the report, so it talks about embedding security earlier in the application lifecycle, like the CI/CD layer. So it starts by raising visibility and fix recommendations for software and well-known vulnerabilities, and container image scanning uh, to get an early buy-in from DevOps and platform teams. I think it's a good idea. Uh, if you start giving good inputs to developer teams, of course, it's easy to embed security. The second thing that is recommended by the report is implementing continuous cloud visibility to look into cloud assets, misconfigurations, and vulnerabilities. The third recommendation is adopting threat prevention techniques when the code is running in real time, uh, which could include a web application firewall, a next generation firewall, etc. The fourth thing that is recommended by the report is aligning cybersecurity tactics with the cloud journey of the organization. So if the organization knows the cloud adoption goals for next 2 to 5 years, example, when they're going to move into containerization, serverless, API, CI/CD, etc., they should start looking into solutions that meet both current and future requirements. Okay. Also, the report recommends tool consolidation, which I think is a decent point. Report from Gartner where they said at least 75% of the organizations are going after consolidation in 2023, which is a higher percentage compared to 2022 now. So that was the report. So two key things that resonated really well with me was, one, the point on consolidation. As I've seen in my entire career, it's very hard for companies to manage multiple tools, integrate them, ensuring that there are no blind spots. And the second thing that resonated well was security teams learning more about CI/CD process. Okay, security teams traditionally have been responsible for infrastructure uh, in runtime, but the more they understand about how applications are getting built, it really helps. And things like having a common steering committee for application security, cloud security, and with the traditional security teams being there really helps a lot. Okay, with that, thank you so much. If you really like the content, just share it so that it gets picked up by algorithm. If you have any other topics in mind, let me know, and I'm thankful to Palo Alto for sharing this report. My idea behind reading such reports is to learn how industry is moving, what are the key trends that are seen, and how we can help others to learn from this. With that, thank you so much. See you next time.